Welcome back to On Assignment. I'm your host, Liz Cochrane. Last time, we started mapping out the complex world of how we get our news and information here in central Pennsylvania. Today, we're digging into a critical part of that picture, the serious challenges facing the traditional business model of local news and what people are thinking about when it comes to finding a way forward, a truly sustainable future for the information our communities rely on. Joining me to discuss this is Malcolm Redd, an expert who has been deeply involved in understanding the shifting landscape. Malcolm, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Liz. Happy to be here.
Malcolm, we hear a lot about local newspapers struggling, maybe shrinking, or even closing down. What's fundamentally happening to the way local news used to pay for itself?
That's right, Liz. For a long time, the traditional business model for local news relied heavily on local advertising. Think about businesses placing ads in the newspaper, on local radio or TV. But over the past couple of decades, that has changed dramatically. Those advertising dollars have largely moved online, often to big tech companies like Google and Meta.
So the money that used to support reporting staff and printing presses is just going somewhere else now?
Yes, this is part of what makes Facebook's Meta and Google so profitable. And no single solution has really emerged to replace that lost revenue. The result is that we've seen many traditional news outlets shrink, get sold, or even close down. The research shows about 1/3 of print newspapers have closed since 2005 across the country.
That has a real impact, not just on journalists losing their jobs, but on communities.
It absolutely does. The way people get information has shifted. Recent research specific to central Pennsylvania shows that social media, especially Facebook, is now the primary news source for most people. It's used about twice as much as local newspapers or magazines by the general population. TV news still plays a big role, too.
So information is still flowing, but it's coming from different places. What's the concern there?
Well, while social media can be quick and convenient, it doesn't often have the same level of fact-checking or in-depth reporting that traditional news sources aim for. And algorithms can often show us only information we already agree with, contributing to polarization. This is the echo chamber we hear about so often. When trusted local news declines, we risk losing a shared understanding of what's happening in our communities. We also see statistics showing that fewer than 4 in 10 central Pennsylvanians feel at least somewhat connected to their local community. Only about 1 in 9 feels completely connected.
Where are those numbers coming from?
All of this research comes from the Steinman Institute for Civic Engagement and Press Forward. A little about Press Forward. They're a nationwide, nonpartisan philanthropic initiative aimed at building up communities and democracy by supporting local news and information.
We've heard a lot from them recently. So does reliable local news help foster that sense of connection?
Yes, that's what this research and many like it across the country find. Reliable local news is a vital ingredient in helping people feel connected and able to participate in civic life. But the old ways of delivering and funding that news aren't reaching everyone or meeting today's needs. So new approaches are definitely needed.
That leads us to the search for sustainability. If the old model is broken, what are some of the ideas emerging from the research and community conversations about building a new sustainable future for local news?
That's the big question. The folks that came together recently in a Steinman Institute and Press Forward hosted event said we can't just keep trying the old ways. We need to go upstream from news. This means looking at the underlying community needs and focusing on things like building trust, maybe focusing less on problems and more on solutions-based journalism and equipping people to take action.
Upstream from news. Explain that a little more.
Well, it's about recognizing that information exists in our communities before it becomes formal news. It's in lived experience, personal connections, and people's curiosity about solving local problems. Sustainable news models need to tap into this to become more relevant and embedded in the community.
So it's not just about the newspaper building a better website, it's about rethinking the whole relationship with the community?
That's the trend right now. The ideas coming out of the community discussions held by the Steinman Institute and Press Forward and the analysis point in that direction. For instance, there's a lot of interest in nonprofit or hybrid media models. The Philadelphia Inquirer is a nonprofit owned by the Lenfest Institute for Journalism. They're certainly not the only ones, but a good local example. These nonprofit news organizations can rely more on community support, grants, and philanthropy rather than just advertising. Membership-based funding models are also seen as promising, where residents support news coverage because they value it, maybe with tiered benefits or pay-it-forward options.
That makes sense. If the community values the news, they might directly support it.
Right? And it's not just individuals. There is the potential for partnerships with community organizations and businesses or foundations to be anchor supporters or investors in public interest news.
What about technology? We talked about social media disrupting the old model. Can technology be part of the solution?
Yes, but with caution, I think. While social media is where many people are, relying on it too much can dilute credibility. However, technology can be a tool. Ideas include using AI to assist journalists with tasks like scanning, summarizing public meetings, or translation, but not replacing the human expertise and editorial judgment. It's a narrow path. Get more efficient, keep the accuracy and quality high so the trust says or even builds. There's also ongoing discussions on developing better digital tools like content management systems or platforms for sharing data to make newsrooms more efficient.
Efficiency seems critical when newsrooms are shrinking.
It is. And even with smaller staffs, news organizations are finding success in specialized content, like daily newsletters, which can deliver information more directly and build stronger community engagement. This can help fill coverage gaps.
So, new funding models, smart use of tech, specialized content. What else is key to this sustainable future?
A major theme is collaboration over competition. News organizations and community groups are realizing that sharing tools, resources, and even collaborating on storytelling can avoid duplication and amplify their impact. The idea of a collaborative infrastructure came up repeatedly in the most recent meeting with like-minded citizens and civic leaders back in May.
Working together instead of competing for shrinking resources?
Yeah. Beyond just the business side, sustainability is also about being essential to the community. This means rebuilding trust, not just by being accurate, but by being relational, by humanizing journalists and engaging with the community in informal spaces. It means centering solutions journalism, focusing on stories of how the community is working well to solve problems, not just reporting on the problems themselves. And it means equipping people to take action, providing information and tools that make it easier for residents to get involved and experience what the community called civic joy. That sense of satisfaction from contributing to their connections and social bonds to each other.
Civic joy. That's a hopeful concept in a landscape that often feels challenging. So this search for sustainability isn't just about keeping the lights on. It's about evolving local news to serve and empower the community in new ways.
We have to expand the definition of what local news and information is and can be. It's about becoming more participatory, including diverse voices, and being powered by community trust. The information ecosystem map and the research behind it are really just a starting point, an invitation for the community, journalists, funders, and residents to help co-create what comes next.
It sounds like a complex but vital effort. Malcolm, thank you for shedding light on the challenges and the potential paths forward for local news in central Pennsylvania.
My pleasure, Liz. It's an absolutely necessary conversation that needs to continue.
And thank you for listening to On Assignment. Join us next time as we explore how to make the switch from doom scrolling to civic joy by moving from problem-centered journalism to solution-centered journalism. On Assignment is produced by Robert Sterner. I'm Liz Cochrane. Stay informed, stay involved. Goodbye.